From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. On Monday, 23rd of March 2020, shortly after 8:30 p.m, Boris Johnson broadcast these 18 startling words to the nation. For the first time in the country's history, a 24-hour curfew is imposed upon the population. All non-essential businesses would be shut, schools closed, families divided, group worship banned. Life as we knew it was replaced by a new reality, where our singular focus would be to slow the spread of a deadly new disease, COVID-19. For the millions watching, the new reality the Prime Minister was imposing was hard enough to digest. The lockdown, which had seemed so far away, which the government had suggested just days before would not happen here, was suddenly a reality. But the shock of the new reality was accompanied by another huge shift for our society. Not only was the lockdown rearranging the basic reality of our social lives, it would also create a new legal universe. For the next 2 years, the tiniest details of our lives, from whether we could leave the house, where we could work, even whom we could hug, would be decreed by ministers, controlled by strange new laws, the likes of which had no precedent in living memory, and enforced by what often resembled a police state. In his statement, the Prime Minister called COVID-19 the invisible killer. But something else was invisible that spring evening. The law which was to back up his unprecedented instruction. He had stated that there were 4 limited purposes for which people would be allowed to leave home, and if they did not follow the rules, he said, the police will have powers to enforce them. But no such powers existed. This was no small detail. It meant that we did not know, as the country was thrust into the lockdown, the legal basis for the police powers. What kind of enforcement and penalties would be meted out to lockdown breaches? And most importantly, we did not know exactly what the rules were. The Prime Minister's statement was bracing but vague, mentioning people could leave their homes to shop only for basic necessities, to take 1 form of exercise per day, to provide care for a vulnerable person, or travel to and from work if it was absolutely necessary and cannot be done from home. This was not sufficiently clear for people to know whether they were breaking the law. As a human rights lawyer, this lack of certainty over the sudden dismantling of basic freedoms rang the loudest of alarm bells.